had a horrible experience with the manager of budget rental car at the Springfield airport. Was threatened with the police if I didn't leave over $6.44 that I was trying to get refunded for replacing the battery in a key fob. It was ridiculous and should never have happened. And I'm hoping that they will step up and make it right. Well, it started, my father passed away in September. And so I live in Missouri, he lives in Nevada. So it took about a month to get it organized to get out there to get his remains and get him buried. So we left, we picked up the car, made some notes so I didn't forget. But we picked up the car. I booked it on the October 9th. We picked up the car on October 17th, Saturday. And we left Saturday night, Sunday morning, early after my husband got done working, and drove straight through. Didn't have any problems with the car until the day of the funeral that we were going to bury him. That morning, the October 21st, we got up, went to start the car, and we had a car warning that the Car Fob battery was low. So I never had a keyless car before, so I had no idea what to do. So I called the number that they had listed on the Car Fob, which was emergency roadside service. And they informed me that I had two options. I could either replace the battery myself, take it to Walmart or someplace to have it replaced, or I could take the car back to a budget car rental place and get a replacement car if they had one available. And this is the day of the burial, so I figured it'd be less time to get it replaced than try and get a new car, because we had all of the stuff packed in the car too, because we were cleaned out his apartment in the interim too. So we take it down to Walmart. He can't figure out how to take it apart, so he tells us to take it to a dealership. Finds the dealership, gives me directions since we're out of town. This is in Phoenix, Arizona. And I take it to the dealership, explain the situation, and he checks to make sure it's not in valet mode and confirms it's the battery. So they replace the battery. I pay the $6.44, and the car rental, the emergency roadside service number, told me that, get it replaced and take your receipt in, and they'll refund you the money when you take the car back. So I'm thinking, great. They come out, they start the car, check it, make sure it's okay. We take off to go up. It's about 2 hours out of Phoenix, up into the mountains where the cemetery is that my mother was buried at. So I was going to bury my father there too. So we get there, turn off the car, go to restart it, and it has the same problem. The car, they didn't fix it. So I don't know if there was something else wrong with the Car Fob. But at this point, we're 2 hours out in the middle of the desert. And so I'm afraid to turn off the car again. So we do the funeral, bury him, get done, say goodbye to my family, and decide to just head back to Missouri that night. So we left out of Peoples Valley about 5 o'clock that night and got back to Missouri the next night about 7:15. So it was a little late to take the car back, so we just took it back Friday morning. So I could take it in, and the lady, Yvonne was her name at the desk. I don't know if she'd been having a bad day, but she was rude to begin with. And I can guarantee you she did not have as bad a day as I was having. But anyway, she finally looks up from her paperwork and just one word, yes. And I'm like, well, I'm here to drop off the car. And she grabs the paperwork, and I'm explaining what happened, and that I brought the receipt in, and they said that I'd be refunded the money that I'd spent. And all she says is, what's the ending mileage? So I'm like, well, I don't know. I hadn't figured. I didn't even put that down. So I sent my husband back out because I'm disabled. Walking back and forth isn't easy. So he went out and got that, brings it back. She still has not said a word. She does some more paperwork and looks up and says, well, I have to copy this. Walks in the back and comes back and then shoves some papers at me. And so I'm grab my glasses, I'm reading through the receipt, and I'm still standing there, and she looks up and she said, "Is there anything else I can do for you?" I said, "Yeah, what about the refund?" And she's like, "I'm not authorized to give refunds. Only my manager can do that." And I said, "Well, then let me speak to him." And she's like, "Oh, he's a very busy man. He's not here right now." I said, "Well, where is he?" And she goes, "Well, I don't know, but he's probably out getting cars for us." And I'm like, "Well," I said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not leaving until I speak to him." And she goes, "Well, you can't wait here." I said, "Well, I'm not leaving until I speak to him. I'm sorry, but I'm not going anywhere." And um, she said, "No, you cannot wait at my window." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm not leaving. This is BS and I'm not leaving." She got all mad. "Don't cuss at me." And I'm not cussing at you, but I'm still not leaving. So she walks off in a huff and went around the corner. And voila, a gentleman comes out. "Oh, I just got back. What can I do for you?" And so I re-explained everything that happened. I said I was out burying my father. It was the day of the funeral. I said it was a mess of a day, and they told me to replace the car fob battery and that I would be refunded the money. And he's like, "Well, you didn't have roadside service. You didn't pay extra for that." I said, "What does that matter?" He said, "Well, you're not covered for anything that happens with the car." I said, "Well, I left with a working car. If something went wrong with your car, I would expect you to pay for it." He said, "No, you could have done anything to that car fob battery. You could have taken it out. You could have made it gotten it wet. You could have done anything. You could have been doing this just to scam us." I'm like, "Over $6.44? I don't think so." So anyway, but we go back and forth a little bit, and I said, "So what you're saying is this is my fault?" And he looked straight at me and he said, "Yes." He points his finger at me and says, "Yes, it's your fault." And so I'm like, "I'm done." I said, this is not right." He said, you need to leave now, and if you don't leave, I'm calling the police." So I'm like, good grief. And I hear the Yvonne in the back yell, "And I'd be happy to call them." So I'm like, I do not understand what's going on. I'm exhausted by this time, mentally and physically. So I just tell him that I'll take it up with corporate and ask for his card, and we leave. So I get back home, and by this time I'm beyond just flummoxed at everything that's just happened. And I call the customer service number for budget, and I get a very nice man. And by this time, I'm through tears trying to explain this to the poor guy. Chris, it was his name, and he was very, very nice. And he was appalled at what I had gone through too, and said that he would refund a day for the trouble and apologized profusely, and that he would escalate it up. So I hang up with that, and I'm waiting a few days, and I still don't see any refund coming through. So I reached back out to customer service, and I got hung up on by the one lady, and the other guy just couldn't figure out what I was talking about. And I asked for a supervisor, and he told me that somebody would call me back, and basically hung up on me. So I waited another couple of days, and I do see that finally the refund for the $38 and change, $38.40 came through for the 1 day refund. But my bank is still showing a balance of $329.44 when the beginning receipt that they gave me when I dropped off the car was $230.45. So I'm like, where's this extra almost $100? And why is it still being pending? So I reached out to customer service through the emails and explained everything and asked, okay, why am I showing three different? I get the receipt for $243. I get an e-receipt for $291.32, but my bank still's charging me $329.44. And I basically get an email back saying, well, we understand that you had a difficult situation, and we apologize for any inconvenience, but you should have brought your fuel receipts in when you came to drop off the car. But we totally apologize and hope you'll shop with us again, basically. I'm like, that didn't answer my question at all. But so I called back again day or two ago and talked to, what was his name? Gosh, what's his name? I want to make sure I wrote all these down because he was very nice. Peter was very nice. He was appalled. And he finally went back through everything. I was on hold for a good 10, 15 minutes while he went through all the records. And he finally figured out that this, and I want to get his name correct too, Lauren Davidson from, in fact, I'll show you the card so you can see it. Okay, his card. He had, after I left, charged me to replace the entire key fob because he said it was damaged without documentation, without anything. And Peter, the customer service agent, said that is not allowed. You cannot charge a customer after they've left the counter with no documentation at all, no pictures. They have to have pictures of the damage. They have to have documentation. So he said he would refund me that charge and that he would escalate this to the regional manager so that he could address Mr. Davidson's outrageous behavior. But that's still pending, so I'm still waiting to hear back on that. I'm still waiting for the refund too, so I'm at a loss now as to what will happen from here. But that's my story in a nutshell. Well, if Peter comes through with what he's trying to do, the reversal of the charge for the key fob, which I didn't do anything to, it just didn't work. And they already gave me the refund of a day, which was more than the $6.44. I thought that was very nice. As long as if they will stick to their word and refund the cost of the key fob, I would be happy. I would hope that the regional manager would address Mr. Davidson's rude behavior and that it wouldn't happen to anyone ever again. Be aware that stuff like this can happen and document everything and get everything in writing or read the fine print or make sure. And, in a situation like this, I'm not sure you can be aware of everything because it didn't even occur to me that something like this could happen.